in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there and welcome back, she said to herself. I missed y'all. I was in California with my sister, actually, and other family members. And here's my sister, and she's back in Chicago. Hi, Suze.
Yeah.
Hi, Suze.
Hi.
So it's good to be home.
Yeah, it is. I've been sleeping like a log.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It was exhausting, all this hopping around. Not to mention the fact that I did what I rarely do. I took a giant spill yesterday in the middle of my street.
Was it dog-related?
Well, it wasn't actually his fault. Yes, I was with the dog, but it wasn't because he did something terrible.
What happened?
We were getting out of my car on my street, and last summer a cement truck left a large, like elephant-sized poop worth of cement dropped out of the back of a truck, and it hardened in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And I just forgot it was there, and the dog got out and was walking towards where he should be walking towards, and I just tripped over the large rock in the middle of the street that shouldn't be there.
Face down.
Well, I just went flying. I landed on my shoulder and my hand and my knee. And I have to say, I didn't even bleed. And I'm a little sore. I have a little bruise, but I'm shocked. I'm fine.
You take after our mother, as opposed to me. Yeah, so I would have been bleeding. There would have been ambulances.
I couldn't believe it. I kept looking. I kept,
well, I'm glad you weren't
everything.
hurt. I'm glad you weren't hurt.
Me
Wow.
too.
Wow.
But it's not going to stop me from calling the city this morning and to no avail and giving them hell.
Listen, I think Chicago's got enough troubles. They ain't going to get around to cement poop in the middle of your street. Ain't no way. God. Yeah. So, anyway, here we are.
Here we are. Back safely away from all of those Trump supporters in our family.
Yeah, guys. Yeah, Susan and I were with a bunch of Trump supporters. Celine just said Jews?
Yep.
Yep. Unbelievable. I know, we can't...
Some of them, not all of them.
Some of them, not all of them. Most of them.
Most of them.
That end of the family. It's unbelievable. I didn't really talk politics with...
I tried as hard as I could not to.
It was the last morning, Sunday morning, there was some politics being spoken, but come on. Wow. So
it's a little scary because you just assume that people are smart enough not to go there, but they aren't. And the fact that when you ask them how can you support Trump, they assure you he's not like that.
That's the thing. Well, I don't think he's really blah. They decide that he's not who he seems to be. Because they have to believe, I guess. I don't know.
Because they are more anti-Democrat, I think, than pro-Trump Trump. I mean, it's just a place that they can't go.
Right. It's unbelievable. So, I mean,
unbelievable.
yeah.
But we survived. We did.
And we are still, I mean, we can show you pictures with that we took with them, and their family. You know, we're close, and it's weird. We have a very close
have such
family.
A small family that the third cousins treat, are as close as, first cousins. And it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And first cousins stay in touch the way other people's siblings do.
True. So you can't let it was drilled into our heads, the importance of family, by the generation before ours, so much so that no one's going to let politics or anything else sever a familial relationship. It just is not possible. So, but these every 4 years it gets a little sticky.
I just started dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever anybody, I would just dance away.
I know. We were dancing. Our mom was dancing. God, unbelievable. So we had a good time. We really did. Although it was warmer here than in Southern California.
It was warmer here, too, although now it's cold.
Yeah. Okay, enough already. We should get into the nitty-gritty.
I'm avoiding.
Okay, but no, I've got a great story here, Susan, about... You're not into beer, are you? Everybody's into beer.
I stopped drinking beer about the third time that I threw it up as a teenager and realized that it tasted the same way going down that it did coming up, and I lost my taste.
Yeah, I never liked it either. But you have to, some of these new, I've tasted now some of this, new stuff.
Well, I will admit that
and
now
some of it is
if
really
I'm eating
good.
sushi in a restaurant, I will, which you wouldn't eat either. I think nothing tastes better with sushi than a nice cold beer in there, and I will drink beer there. And there are some delicious beers that are coming out, so I'm starting to taste.
That's true. There are. Because anyway, this is about an Australian beer. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it's from the name of the brewery is 7 Cent Craft Brewery, and they decided to try to make a beer with a different yeast source. Yeast is extremely important. You can't do it without yeast, right? So they began, the staff there...
That's why it's called liquid bread.
I didn't know it was.
Oh, yes.
Really? So the staff there began on a regular basis swabbing their belly buttons and then cultivating yeast colonies.
Oh, well, I don't want that beer.
No, can you imagine? Anyway, here's what it says.
Yeast.
Here's what somebody who tasted it, who didn't know where the yeast source came from, said. It has hints of fresh orange zest and toasted coriander seeds.
Well, that's only because they didn't know that it tasted like belly button.
Right. Well, so the head of the brewery said, hey, look, yeast is yeast. This beer is no different from any other beer. You have to have the yeast. But why would you even do that? Why?
Yeah, who has the thought that let's use our belly buttons?
I know.
Well, it's a warm, dark place. I could see where yeast would form there.
Yeah. Oh, dear God. Well, I just had to. It's one of those. What else we got? Hey, because I read this and thought, yes, it's everything I wanted to say. But in fact, it was the president who said it, and I don't think it got much attention. So can I just read it?
Yeah.
To you? This is like over a week ago when the president went to Flint, Michigan.
right, and drank the water.
And drank the water. And then in the speech he gave, he said this about what got Flint poisoned. It's a mindset that believes that less government is the highest good no matter what. It's a mindset that says environmental rules designed to keep your water clean or your air clean are optional or not that important or unnecessarily burdensome to businesses or taxpayers. It's an ideology that undervalues the common good, that says we're all on our own and what's in it for me and how do I do well, but I'm not going to invest in what we need as a community. And as a consequence, you end up seeing an underinvestment in the things that we all share. Things that make us safe, that make us whole, that give us the ability to pursue our own individual dreams. So we underinvest in pipes underground. We underinvest in bridges that we drive on and the roads that connect us and the schools that move us forward. And this is all part of the attitude. This is part of the mindset. And we especially underinvest when the communities that are put at risk are poor or don't have a lot of political clout and so are not as often heard in the corridors of power. And this kind of thinking, this myth that government is always the enemy, that forgets that our government is us, it's us, that it's an extension of us, ourselves. That attitude is as corrosive to our democracy as the stuff that resulted in the lead in your water. Because what happens is it leads to systemic neglect. It leads to carelessness and callousness. It leads to a lot of hidden disasters that you don't always read about and aren't quite as flashy, but that over time diminish the life. Life of the community and make it harder for our young people to succeed. Shall I go on?
Sure, because I was actually having this conversation, although not as elegantly.
Yeah, right, me too.
On
I think
Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think I said sort of the same things in regard to Flint too. This is republicanism coming home. But he went on. So it doesn't matter how hard you work, how responsible you are, or how well you raise your kids. You cannot set up a whole water system. That's not something you do by yourself. You do it with others. You can't hire your own fire department or your own police force or your own army. There are things we have to do together, basic things that we all benefit from. And that's how we invested in a rail system and a highway system. That's how we invested in public schools. Let's think of how retro this all seems. That's how we invested in science and research. These are how we invested in community colleges and land-grant colleges. But volunteers don't build county water systems and keep lead from leaching into our drinking glasses. We can't rely on faith groups to reinforce bridges and repave runways at the airport. We cannot ask second graders, even ones as patriotic as Isaiah Britt, who raised all that money, to raise enough money to keep our kids healthy. You hear a lot about government overreach, how Obama, he's for big government. Listen, it's not government overreach to say that our government is responsible for making sure you can wash your hands in your own sink, shower in your own home, cook for your family. These are the most basic services. There is no more basic element sustaining human life than water. It's not too much to expect for all Americans that their water is going to be safe. Well, he just laid it out. It's
right.
It's not about individuals, because if we don't come together, and that's what's totally, we have lost that sense that there are.
Here's the conversation I was having. It was with one of the Trump supporters, And we were talking about how many synagogues are in danger of closing because people don't understand that they have to pay real dues.
Well, that's different than what Christians don't pay.
Christians
dues.
don't do it. That's not how they do it. In the synagogues, everybody is assessed a certain
member.
amount.
Yeah.
But most people, they aren't going to turn you away. So most people, let's say you got a family with 4 kids and they're all going to Sunday school and Hebrew school, they might decide $500 is enough, and that's what they do. Well, that more and more people are doing that, and of course that's not enough to pay for the staff and the upkeep of the building and everything else, and they're closing. So I said to this person, much as we have failed to teach our children that they have to support the community, their synagogue community that they want to use, we've also forgotten to extend that to our larger community. That just as our synagogue is our religious home, or our church is our religious home, our community is our actual home, and we have the same responsibility to the larger community that we do to our smaller community. And how people can't make that transition, I don't get. They see in the small the terrible effects, what they're losing if they can't get people to support it, and they are bemoaning that fact. How they can't extrapolate to their larger community, I don't get.
Right. Well, let's thank the great Ronald Reagan, because he's the one who started this mantra that they so glommed onto, that government is the enemy.
That's right.
And boy, they've done a job on Americans' heads. So that there is no institution that is trusted anymore by anybody. And that begets the kind of, I don't know, it just seems like everybody in America now is almost feral. There's no sense of...
No, they run in, they grab as much as they can get, and they run back to their cave.
It feels that way.
Yeah, it sure does.
So that's where, sort of Ayn Rand capitalism, along with the government is the problem, Reagan republicanism, gets us to Donald Trump.
Right, and they're arming themselves at, like, I think 33% higher rates than they did yet last year.
Arming themselves?
Yeah, the gun permits are like way, way up.
I thought because I think Hillary might win now. It's not Obama. It's, jeez. Well, that's an interesting thing about the guns, because there's some other thing that I came across, that actually the southern governor the other day actually vetoed a bill that would have allowed students in Georgia to carry concealed weapons on campus, right? And that's a Republican governor, and he vetoed it. Now, of course, he is not running for re-election.
No,
that's
and
the only way.
Might be overridden too.
Well, that's true. It might be overridden. But what was interesting is the argument he used to explain his veto, and it was that the founding fathers would not have approved it. So he turned to a little bit of history that I never heard.
Right.
I never heard before. And
he probably made it up, but it's okay.
No. In October of 1824, both Thomas Jefferson and James Madison attended a board meeting of the University of Virginia, which Jefferson had founded. And it was actually about to open that spring. And obviously these two guys had spent a bit of their lives thinking about things like freedom and individual liberty and all that stuff. But there are minutes from that meeting. That's why it's not made up. There are minutes. And I've seen a picture of those minutes. The minutes from the meeting show that these two guys, and the rest of the board, but Jefferson and Madison making rules for what the university of this school they were creating, and they did not want any firearms on their campus. They said this. This was the rule. This was the rule that Jefferson and Madison
They were
put
gentlemen.
down.
They didn't need to be shooting each other in the middle of a class.
Well, here's what they said. Quote, no student shall, within the precincts of the university, introduce, keep, or use any spirituous liquors, keep or use weapons or arms of any kind. They had, and there was obviously more, but that was it. And so the governor now said, hey, look, if you really...
You want to know what they thought? This is what they thought.
Yeah.
Well, good.
So, always, and they say that all kinds of things have been, misattributed to Jefferson about firearms. Because he is on record, he is on record as saying this to his nephew, when his nephew was going off. Let your gun, therefore, be your constant companion on your walks. But historians say that he was probably they don't know what he was thinking. So he says something like that, but then when he's creating a university, he says, no student will bring a gun on this campus. So right there, the guys who authored the Second Amendment were already proscribing it.
Right. Because
why isn't that better known?
They were talking about something else. When people say it's going back to the days of the Wild Wild West, phooey, that was safer. People weren't allowed to have their firearms within the city limits.
Right.
There were rules.
Not anymore.
The sheriff didn't want to have to contend with all that. There were simply rules. It's just crazy. There were 40 over Mother's Day weekend in Chicago. There were 8 wounded and 41 injured.
No. 8 killed.
8 killed and 41 injured.
Shootings.
Shootings.
Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Right.
Here, bury your kid. It's something, isn't it? Did you know, Susan, in Wisconsin, it's a felony to commit adultery?
Still?
Yep. It's still on the books. There's only one other state that has it still as a felonious activity, and that would be Oklahoma.
Well, that's interesting. So if a husband or a wife catches their spouse, they can call the cops and have them charged with a felony?
I guess they could. That means that, wow, if you were an elected official and it was found out
if
you
you're
had
Donald Trump, for example,
you can get arrested if he goes to campaign in Wisconsin.
who has clearly,
because he boasts about it.
He boasts about it.
Right.
He's on record as boasting about it.
But they do say it actually has been. There are...
I'm sure that angry spouses have used that.
There are 21 states in which it is still a crime. It is illegal, but they're misdemeanors. Wisconsin and Oklahoma have it as a felony. And courts have let people be fired because of it in these states because...
Judges don't have the right to simply ignore the law.
Right. It says people who were maybe in the FBI but were on a trainee status, that they have been thrown out because they were found to have committed...
a felony.
Well, it wasn't even a felony there. It would have been just a misdemeanor, but it was considered, grounds for... Isn't that something? So I read the other day something. I should have cut it out so I could share it with you without mumbling, which is what I'm going to do. But it was somebody trying to explain why Trump is, why everybody, like what you said, our relatives who want him still just, they just see what they want to see with him, disregard the stuff that actually makes them queasy, and this guy said that he thought, and this is a conservative, was in the National Review, that he thinks that there's sort of a nihilism going on. Is it nihilism or nihilism?
I don't know. I usually say nihilism, but I don't know.
Okay. And he thinks what drives this sort of loyalty to him, the refusal to even talk about the negatives, he says, is a sort of nihilism or nihilism, and that what really is going on here, and he had quoted a friend who was trying to explain why he was going to vote for Trump, and the friend said something like, I don't really care what he stands for. I just want him to, and here was the quote, I just want him to fuck things up.
Right.
What? But
I just want to put my nose in a meat grinder and turn it on.
But it's like I like fuck things up better. Suze, the thing is,
I was just saying that person wants to cut off their nose to spite their face.
Well, but it's not just their nose.
No,
they want people to fuck
too.
Things up. It's like they want to throw a bomb and just blow it there. It's like a bunch of. It's like a.
Well,
it's like a massive tantrum that doesn't make any.
It's a totally immature response. You got it. It's a totally immature, uneducated, ignorant response, and that's what bothers me. That these. I mean, as I said, I know a lot of absolute staunch Republicans that are simply voting for Hillary. They're so horrified. That's the proper response. To say, in this case, folks, this ain't my guy. Even though I'm a conservative Republican, that's not a conservative Republican. I'm better off with Hillary. She's a moderate Republican.
Yeah, well, I mean, people are pointing out that, in fact, she's more hawkish than Trump.
Yeah.
In many ways, if Republicans really look at what they want, they might prefer Hillary. They want.
I'm telling
they want somebody Wall Street likes.
They were always sort of moderate.
They were moderate. They were never that liberal. Governance. They tried initially. That was the great healthcare fiasco.
They got pragmatic. They went for what they could get done.
So. This is...
even though it resulted in things like don't ask, don't tell.
Ridiculous things. Well, a lot of crap happened in his...
They were inching things forward,
yeah.
And instead they nailed it shut. It was awful.
There's never been a stupider policy than...
That's the first time that I was actually really moved to sit down and write a letter, and that was when computers were brand new, I'm telling you, and for me to sit in front of that little teeny box of an apple that I had and figure out how to type the letter, I was so proud of myself.
Well, the fact is that Clinton, in many ways, did a lot of lousy legislation. I mean, a lot of lousy. We see now. I mean, you see the consequences, the criminal.
Well, honestly, I don't know that they were wrong. I do think it moved it forward precisely because it was so terrible.
He's the one who signed DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act.
Yeah, I know. And look what happened.
Well, it didn't happen because of...
I'm not so sure. It creates a backlash. The backlash, I'm not so sure. It's a law of unintended consequences, or perhaps intended consequences. You don't know.
So now the bathroom thing has become a federal case. And, it's stuff like this, though, that most Americans, I think, well, I don't know. A whole bunch of...
This is easy. This is an easy issue. Why worry about...
No, it's not an easy
ending
issue.
Or ISIS when you can worry about who you're going to run into in a bathroom.
Right. It's one of the... But we know how powerful this bathroom... As soon as you get to the bathroom, people apparently lose their minds. Because this is what kept the Equal Rights Amendment from passing. The same thing. It was bathroom. Men will go into women's bathrooms. That was what killed it, the bathroom. This, I think, in a country that obviously has a whole bunch of conservative folks in it who are just feeling battered by their losses in the social sphere. They can't, their whole sense of, gays, has just been totally upended. Now we go from gays to transsexuals, and they haven't even gotten their heads around gays yet. Gays marrying. I'm talking about millions and millions of people, and I'm talking about millions of nice people too. It isn't what they know, what they grew up with, and now you're telling them that people with penises can go into women's bathrooms because they think they're women. I'm telling you that this kind of thing is not going to help. The fact that this is a federal case now is not going to help the Democrats. It'll help Donald Trump. Well, you think I'm incorrect there?
No, but I don't think I don't think it'll help. I think those people are those people, and they were voting the way they were voting before the federal case. I don't think that people who don't feel that way are suddenly going to feel that way because there's a federal case. I think it will just highlight the way these people feel, but their vote wouldn't change.
Okay, here's another scary thing I've thought about over the weekend, having heard that Trump is really letting loose on Paul Ryan. And my favorite quote is interviewing Sarah Palin, and her solemnly announcing that Paul Ryan's political career is over. Yeah, she said he's going to.
And you, Sarah?
And she said he's going to be cantered.
He's going to be cantered, right?
Right, because speaking of Eric Cantor, who was a excessively powerful Republican just, a few years ago, and got absolutely trounced when he was still in. I don't even think none of the mainstream media saw it coming, and so who knows? Who knows anymore? Here's what's scary to me. Here's what I heard. So Trump has said that he might ask Ryan to step down. He won't want Ryan heading the convention.
The Republican convention, right.
Because it's Trump's convention. And why would he want, and I understand that, why would he want a guy heading the convention who doesn't even endorse him? So Ryan has now said that if Trump wants him to step aside as the head of the convention, he'll step aside.
Right.
Okay. Now, the other part is, I have heard from reliable sources that this convention will be unlike any convention in the history of the Republic. The reason being that the reality star running for the Republican Party knows the power and value of putting on a good show, and he has already hired producers. You are going to see a convention. I keep thinking it's going to look like something the Third Reich put on.
Yeah.
No, it is. I'm telling you, it's going to be.
That's what he's doing.
I know it's going to be Okay, everybody wants to see what American fascism will look like. American Caesar, what the people who want a strong man, and he's going to put on a show that all of America, Republican, Democrat, will watch.
Who he's attracting. Anti-Semitism is is popping up all over the
Right.
place again.
Right.
I mean, the racist stuff is all over the place again.
Because who let the dogs out? He's
made it
opened the doors.
okay.
Right.
He's made it okay.
But here's what I'm thinking. That convention will be
Don't forget, he even had the salute.
He even had the salute. That's right. But if he's hiring Hollywood producers types to do the show, they'll do it. They'll do it well. They'll do it well. He doesn't want it boring. So he doesn't want boring speeches. He wants nothing but stuff to just rouse people. I can't even begin to imagine what that will look like. But you will see ratings, which is what he knows how to get. You will see ratings through the roof. Remember the last few conventions the networks were starting to pull away from even showing them?
Showing it.
Yeah, right.
It used to be on all three networks.
Right, right.
They would just give you...
Right. Because they're boring, and now we don't like boring, and Donald knows we don't like boring. So he's going to give the networks gazillions, and he's going to do a show, and they're going to return the favor by continuing to give him the kind of coverage that no political candidate has ever had. So I'm just telling you, get ready. I got a feeling this is going to look like what America, the early stages potentially of American fascism.
That's right.
Somebody
potential. It's not potential. It's real. It's right in front of your face. Why are you saying potential?
Somebody resurrect what's her name, the great cinematographer who did all of Hitler's work, Leni Riefenstahl. What was her name?
I can't remember.
That gorgeous woman.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, brilliant documentarian who, as my neighbor said once of her mother-in-law, was too mean to die. She lived to be like 110. I don't know. You don't remember her?
No, I do remember her. I don't remember her name.
I'm close. Leni Riefenstahl, but that's not it. What is it? No, it's not Lonnie. But I bet I got LR right. I don't know. Come on, somebody. Come on, you guys. Help me here. So there's a lot of media mea culpas about all of this, and there was one in the Lenny, and the last name is Riefenstahl. Yeah, Leni Riefenstahl.
There you go.
And ain't she gorgeous? Mm-hmm. Yeah, gorgeous, pretty, talented, fascista. So Jim Rutenberg, writing in the New York Times, has said, if you want to, everybody's pointing fingers at what the heck and how did Trump and blah, blah, blah. He said, in the end, you have to point the finger at national political journalism, or what passes for that. And he said, because it totally lost sight of its primary purpose, which is, believe it or not, to help its audience make sense of what they were seeing, to reduce confusion and not add to it, and to resist the urge to do what they're doing to make money as opposed to do their jobs. And there's very little indication.
Well, that's the corporatization of that.
That's right. That's right. And there's very little indication that media has. Did you see, God Almighty, Andrea Mitchell like to strangle that scrawny little chicken neck?
Yes, she's so eat, Andrea.
Yeah, eat. Anyway, Andrea was interviewing Richards, the head of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
And
Cynthia or?
No.
No, no.
It's Ann Richards' daughter, but I'm blanking on her middle name, on her first name. Why, I don't know. Jesus. Ann Richards. No, that's...
No, that's...
All
Ann
right. Jeez. Horrible getting old and having your brain turned to mush.
I know.
Anyway.
Names, I don't even bother to try and remember.
But all she seemingly wanted to talk about was how will Hillary handle the issue of Bill Clinton's infidelity. And
why is she talking about?
And that's right. And the woman said, well, what is that? That's not what voters care about. What? And Mitchell would not let it drop. She kept coming back and coming back and coming back. Well, Trump's going to use it. And what does she do with, can you imagine?
Let's write her.
Well, you're the one
really,
who...
that's ridiculous. And actually, it's been asked and answered. The question was put, probably by her, to Hillary, and Hillary said, that's him running his campaign. I'm not running that campaign, and switched and started talking about what she thought was important. And that was the end of that, and that's what everybody should do.
Well, it was an issue after the American public became aware of Monica Lewinsky and all that. And I think we saw how that played out in a presidential campaign where the person running was the guy screwing around, and the American people elected him again.
Right.
Jeez.
And they seem to be forgiving Trump.
Oh, you always forgive. Guys get forgiven.
I don't understand why we're mad at Hillary.
Well, see,
why
because
people are saying that she blames the woman. Frankly, if it were me and it were my husband, I'd be pissed at my husband, and you bet I'd blame him. But I would also blame the woman that knew damn well he was married, and who gave me absolutely no consideration.
But it is a totally individual, personal thing.
It's none of our business.
And nobody knows what really
I'm just answering all of this stuff. What do you mean? I mean, if it were me, I'd blame my husband and I blame the woman. You know, but I'm not married to the woman. I'm married to the man. So beyond that, it's up to the woman to decide how she wants to handle it. And frankly, they seem like a good and loving team.
Yeah, they've got something.
They've got something. So all of us get to butt out.
Exactly right. You don't have to...
How
many marriages does anybody understand? Even the people who are in a marriage half the time don't understand it. I think.
Right. And
I mean, you can... People, because how often you're shocked when you hear, so-and-so's divorcing. You think, well, I just thought they had the most wonderful marriage. You don't have a clue. None of us do. So all of these Americans who think they understand that Hillary doesn't really love him or he doesn't love her or this is indication of that, what the hell, nothing. Nothing. And that a woman journalist, respected journalist, married to the former Fed chief, who no one's seen in public in 100 years. What must he look like? He's withered away so much that all's left is that big nose and his glasses. Anyway, hell with him. So I'm just saying, nothing makes me crazier than this election is just showing that we've got a lot of people who are not serious about their responsibilities as citizens to pay attention, to be sober.
You're supposed to love your country, which means that you don't intentionally inflict harm on it.
Well, they don't think they are. They think they're making America great again. Did you see that a tombstone showed up in New York City in Central Park? There was this tombstone. I mean, a big tombstone, granite tombstone with Trump on it. It had been put together. Trump And it said under it, he made America hate again. And they finally traced it. The cops traced it back to the place that had done it, and it was just a job for him. The guy said,
Right.
"Well, this guy came in and he wanted it," and I thought, "Well, what the heck? I mean, it's
Right, they're not responsible
over
for what the person
2,000
does
some.
with it.
Yeah, right." And I don't even see why is it a big deal to drop a
Other than littering, it's not.
right.
I mean, I suppose they might imply a threat thereon, but
Oh, that was what it was.
unintended.
That's what it was. Somebody said this could be a death threat. Come on. Jeez. Speaking of death, I have a good story.
Oh, good, because I'm about ready to shoot myself.
Yeah, right. This is not an obit exactly, but it's a. I looked, but I didn't find one that was terribly compelling. But this is about the deceased here is a 64-year-old named Ron Hopper who got cancer, and he died before he and his two friends could go on this fishing expedition that they had been planning for years. They are all serious fishermen, and they had planned this trip to Thailand on a fishing excursion for years, and he goes and dies.
Dies.
And
So what they do, take him with them?
yeah. So
Yeah.
it was his idea. He said, "Hey, guys," he told his friends Paul and Cliff, "Hey, will you take my ashes and will you, mix them up with a bait so I can just be right in the midst of it? Please do it." They did it. And they reeled in a record-breaking Siamese carp that weighed 180 pounds.
Wow. He was having fun.
Yeah, he done did it. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So, I told you it was a good story.
Yeah, well, now I'm really depressed.
Why?
No, that's a good story.
That was a good story.
Right.
Okay.
Guy gets cancer, dies, and goes swimming with the fishies.
Let's see if I have any. Oh, here's an interesting one. Here, the insurance company Chubb, Chubb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the.
Also the name of a fish. Yes.
Does the Chubb fish have two B's?
I don't know.
I don't
Smoked
either.
chub, probably not.
The world's largest publicly traded property and casualty insurer. Who knew? Chubb. It is now offering, get this, the kind of coverage it's offering in its what they call a family protection policy. They're offering for $70 a year a cyberbullying coverage for any member of the family for $70 a year, and it caps off pretty low at $60,000. They'll give you up to $60,000 if, I guess, they agree that you were or one of your family members cyberbullied, and it can be used to pay for services including psychological counseling, lost salary, and if needed, public relations assistance. I bet that.
Oh, good.
I bet it's gonna. I think that's a good product. Don't you?
I do think it's a good product, and you know, I really do think that we need to start. If we could get our legislatures to stop focusing on women's bodies and firearms, it would be nice if they decided to look at some of these issues that were simply non-existent before the internet and create legal backup for people that are being
Well, the cyberbullying,
harmed
especially for
online.
cyberbullying, especially of women and children, is really amazing.
It's awful, and it's provable. I mean, you take a screenshot,
Yeah.
and there you are.
This woman who, after I don't want to say. Why did I want to say Columbine? The horrible one with the school children.
Right.
Who was so freaked out, she immediately decided she would start online something
Nina?
like.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello. I'm here. We lost her. Okay. But this woman decided to, create something like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, because that was extremely effective. And this would be mothers, against stupid gun proliferation. And from the minute she was online with it, the death threats, the sexual threats were just, she said it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And they have never stopped, and they have kept coming. And you think that does chase a lot of people away. But if she had this insurance, she could maybe fight it a little bit better. It's awful. God, there's a lot of cowards out there who are big tough guys when that comes to the internet because they're anonymous. I think. It's just unbelievable. So anyway, Chubb is offering this family protection policy. And I would think if you were a younger couple or person who had young children, given the reality of how this works, for $70 a year, I think that's a good bet. Really. And I mean, somebody like me who certainly gets a lot of that stuff, I don't care. I mean, my skin's been thickened a long time ago. Although at the time when it wasn't even cyber, but it had to be handwritten. Yeah, I mean, I had a direct line to somebody at the FBI here. I had the Allegheny County Police and the Postal Service. I had numbers to call immediately. So, I mean, I did take as much a defensive posture as I possibly could, and had to use the FBI a few times, even starting as far back as when I started my career in Wisconsin. And the FBI was extremely effective. I mean, I really never... they took it seriously, and they always put a stop to it. Without, you can't reach her again.
I think something must be wrong with her line because it won't working.
Is there a busy signal, or is it just ringing?
Just ringing through.
Wow.
You can try your cell phone.
Okay. And I never know quite what they did, but they would always go and pay a visit to whoever the perp was. A lot of this was anti-Semitic. Much of it was, and threatening. And the FBI would say, well, we'll take care of this. They'd go, I guess, and talk to the person, maybe say, here's what's going to happen if you continue this.
Right.
And then they never continued. It always worked. So, personally, the FBI has been a friend to me, I'll tell you. Okay, is she back?
Well, I'll put you on.
Okay. So, hello, Susan? Susan? Susan?
Yes.
If something's wrong with your phone.
It's pouring here, and my AT&T U-verse line keeps going in and out.
Yeah, I'll tell you. American infrastructure. Yeah, we love it. Okay. So I got one more thing, Suze, before we go. Have you aware of the picture of the black women cadets at West Point?
No.
Okay. There is a picture taken recently of black female cadets. There are 16 of them, I believe. All of them seniors, all about to graduate, in a week or two. I was pretty blown away that there were 16 black women at West Point
Right.
who are seniors.
Right.
I mean, that was amazing to me. And they're all, and I guess one of the things that seniors at West Point often do is they take pictures of their group, their little posing as cadets used to pose, in the late 1800s. You've seen those strange poses.
Yes. Standing at chairs with those strange expressions on their
Right,
face.
standing on stairs. Some are sort of sometimes lying on their side, and
Right.
but they do these sort of retro poses. And these young women did that and took a number of pictures, some with their swords, some with other arms, and one they took a picture in that same kind of configuration, and they all raised their arms and made a fist.
Yeah,
Well, that's all it takes.
they got in trouble.
Some white guy who was an alum sees that picture, and he immediately thought that they were essentially treasonous. I mean, he like went nuts and says that this was a black power thing and that it was politicized. They are not allowed to be political, and they were being political, and they were upholding a organization that wants to kill police officers. And do you know what West Point has done? It has instituted an investigation, an inquiry.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Oh, for heaven's sakes.
They're supposed to graduate May 21st. Could West Point possibly discipline all the black females in its graduating class because they took a picture like this? How do they, why to white eyes is that a threat? To white eyes, that's a threat. I'm a powerful female warrior.
Powerful women.
Yeah,
We are
Susan.
Powerful women. Good for us. That's what it meant.
Where are you? You're way back somewhere.
I'm sorry. I was forced to answer this on my iPad, and I'm.
Okay, well, now you're better, but you got... Okay, yeah,
I'll hold
it
it.
means
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are powerful women. None of the other pictures, whatever, powerful, proud black women, whatever, cadet, who knows? But apparently all hell has broken loose. The reality is, if you look at women in the U.S. military, do you know that 1/3 of all women in the American military are black? Way out of representation, their representation in
Well,
the...
because it's a way forward. It's a way forward.
Right. And yet the patriotism of these women who have gone through 4 years at West Point, and you can bet have been inculcated with American militarism and all this stuff, and now they're being called by some white, cis white male, as traitors and as potential threats.
Well, let's hope that the inquiry shows that they had 4 years of exemplary behavior and there was no reason to go there.
Wow. It just made me...
It's appalling. And people say that, this isn't racist. This isn't, that's just playing the race card.
It's unbelievable to me. It's weird. The one thing that isn't explained, and maybe she was away, is there was one black female cadet who's not in the picture. 16 of the 17 that are graduating. But it wouldn't have been that because she wasn't in any of the pictures.
Maybe she was taking the picture.
Yeah, I don't think so. But anyway, the makeup of their African American women make up less than 2% of West Point's student population. And yet they're going to, what? They're going after these women? I can't believe that anything will happen.
No, can't. Now,
I don't know.
Mean, if I were one of those women and something did happen, I would lawyer up so fast.
Mm-hmm. Well, you should see the picture.
Sure these women will have people offering that kind of help.
Yeah, you should see the picture. It's. I think it's a wonderful picture. I mean, it's just that these
those are women that are proud of themselves and proud of their achievements and are telling you that they are strong.
Right.
That they are West Point strong.
Right. Unbelievable, but But we live in a post-racial America because, after all,
yes,
we elected
post-racial America.
We elected a Kenyan communist black guy, president. So we're in the clear. Okay. Well, Suze, thanks.
Thanks. I'm going to go and get my canoe, I think.
Okay. We got rain in our forecast, too. Okay. Keep dry.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, you guys. Whatever. You were a quiet bunch today. What's with you? See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.